Is The Sims 4 a dead game? Before all of the snot-nosed Reddit users come at me, no. In fact, allegedly, The Sims 4 boasted over 15 million new players over the last year, which is pretty insane. The Sims 4 is very much alive, or at the least, you might say, The Sims 4's player base is alive. But is the game itself actually alive? My personal interpretation is that The Sims 4 died on launch, and it's just kind of been slogging along as a zombie for the last 10 years. The debate as to whether or not The Sims 4 is a good game is very much heated, and I think the primary factor driving this is the fact that The Sims 4 has been out for so long. It's the only Sims game that the majority of people have experienced. Back in the Middle Ages, not only did we have the main title Sims games like The Sims 1, 2, and 3, we also had many different kinds of Sims spin-off titles. We experienced many different faces of The Sims. So when The Sims 4 came out, we were able to almost categorically agree that The Sims 4 was the ugliest face of them all. But most Simmers these days genuinely haven't looked at any of the older Sims games. They haven't touched them. They don't want to know. You know, if I play The Sims 2 or 3 on my channel, it normally flops. That's because nobody gives a shit, which is fair enough. The Sims 4 is the prettiest Sims game, and in many ways it has updated the series. It has evolved kind of in some ways. So why would you want to go back to a game like The Sims 3? I mean, you can't really unless you download a load of mods. It's very inaccessible. Even if you purchase The Sims 3 on the EA app now, you can't just play it. You're going to have to jump through a lot of hoops, including downloading patches and all sorts of things. The Sims 4 is the first main title Sims game to be free to play. The DLC has excellent marketing, so no wonder why it's so alive. But does alive necessarily mean that it is a good game? Since the release of The Sims 3, the world population has increased enormously, so has the number of internet users, and The Sims 4 is now a rental game. When you buy it, you don't buy a physical disc like we used to. You can just download it with a click of the button online. It's very easy. So naturally the player base has gone up. In fact, the player base of pretty much every single video game in the world has gone up thanks to the internet and people are having more and more access to technology and hardware. So I don't really necessarily think The Sims 4 doing well is a sign that it's a good game, in my opinion, but more so a sign that video games are more accessible in general. With that being said, I do think The Sims 4 is dead. The game is atrocious compared to the previous Sims games in almost every single way, apart from graphics and build mode and create a sim mode. The live mode is definitely the most primitive of them all. And with every single new patch update, they fix one bug, but the patch update normally causes 2 more bugs. So it's just this eternal cycle of the game getting buggier and buggier and buggier in different kinds of ways. Yet it was kind of indirectly announced recently that The Sims 5 is dead too. No longer is EA trying to innovate with the Sims series. Instead, they just want to upsell you DLC. Why sell a brand new video game for $40 when you can sell a DLC for $40? Seeing that the DLC will be much easier for them to make. So it puts us in a position where I think, where do we go from here? The way that EA seem to have planned going forward is releasing more and more Sims packs, including Project Renee, which seems to be just a glorified multiplayer pack for The Sims 4, and also some spin-off titles which just look like a total cash grab. In fact, when we had all of these leaks from the Sims universe or the Sims hub, whatever they're calling it, pretty much everybody categorically had negative opinions. I mean, the leaked playtests were basically just a very primitive Sims experience, but based on the UI, it was very clear that they had microtransactions in mind. It seems like their number one priority with The Sims going forward is how can we monetize this series rather than how can we innovate and create a good game. In fact, they have shown over the course of this whole Project Renee announcement and all the leaks, we have not seen literally one single innovative thing come out of this. They've mentioned prospects of multiplayer, but we don't know what that is yet, and we don't know if we'll even like it. We've literally seen nothing innovative, and things that they have shown, for example, when they showed off that you might be able to create an ombre effect with your hair. This is something that we had in The Sims 3. This is literally a backward step. So the future of The Sims in terms of future Sims games, you might say, is quite dead. And The Sims 4, with the release of more and more packs, it's just going to become buggier and buggier. All these different features adding up, conflicting each other in some way. The base game platform coding of The Sims 4 being quite bad. The lack of core features that people really just want, like open worlds and cars, not being there. There's that saying, what's that saying, like beating a horse when it's dead and down? I don't know what that saying is. You know what I mean? Where the fuck are they going? Taking a look at the most recent Sims 4 pack, Life and Death, I actually thought this is a really good pack. Probably my favorite Sims 4 pack, being completely honest with you. In fact, this is one of my most positively scored Sims 4 expansion packs in my review series. But even then in my review, I gave a footnote that this is my favorite Sims 4 pack, but not favorite Sims pack, because Sims 4 packs are just kind of like rock bottom Sims. So it's like the best out of a bad bunch. It's kind of like, you know, when you're really horny and desperate, so you open Grindr and they're all a little bit ugly, but you find someone who's a 5 out of 10 and you just go for them because they're, even though they're a 5 out of 10, they're like the best. They're the least unattractive. That was really shallow, but I feel like you guys are going to resonate with that, unless you're a straight man. And if that's the case, what the fuck are you doing on my channel? Whenever I see people say, what do I want from The Sims 4 going forward, people always say, I want open world, I want cars, I want color wheels. Nobody's saying, you know, I want an expansion pack with this theme or that theme. Ever since The Sims 4 first release, the number one things people are asking for are like core fundamental based game features that we're never going to get just because of the way The Sims 4 is. There's only so far they can go with this game, which is why I believe it's dead. But also The Sims 5 is never ever coming because so many people are still buying into and playing The Sims 4. They have no reason really. Their excuse was that people are still investing in The Sims 4 and they bought all these packs and they don't want to have people start all over again. This is obviously a lie. They just want to keep making money from The Sims 4 as they already are doing. And to be fair, I completely understand their perspective. However cash grabby, I get it. If it's working, like, don't rock the boat, just keep going. But it puts them in a weird position where it will get to the point where The Sims 4 is going to break down for good, kind of like The Sims 3 kind of broke down as it reached the end of its lifespan. But then what's going to happen? Are people just going to keep happily purchasing Sims 4 packs forever? I just can't see that happening, especially with brand new upcoming life simulation games. There seem to be a ton of them. I think Inzoi is the most commonly well-known one that's coming out. There's also Paralives. There's also another one that I know is coming, but we literally don't know a single thing about it yet, so I can't even show you an image on screen. I'm pretty sure other developers are probably thinking about it too. The problem is when you don't innovate with a series and somebody else comes along, this brand new game could potentially take over. Even if it may not take over, it may set a brand new standard. You know, we kind of saw this with Pokemon and Power World. When Power World came out, it took Pokemon and totally innovated it and made it updated for an older audience, modern audience. People loved it. Granted, Power World will never be as big as Pokemon. It certainly left a massive shockwave, and I'm pretty sure its success is going to have an impact on Pokemon, even if indirectly. We know EA basically killed off the SimCity franchise themselves because they didn't innovate in the right ways. So other video games like City Skylines came along. The Sims is definitely not invincible. I think it used to be because it was the only life sim game, but now it's not. So where do we go from here with The Sims? Right now, it looks like the way we're going forward is we're going to continue getting packs for The Sims 4 whilst they continue developing their cash grabby mobile experiences or whatever the fuck they're doing, and they're all going to flop because they're not innovating in any way other than monetization. And then we're just going to continue getting Sims 4 expansion packs because that's the only thing that seems to be working. But then they can't release, you know, 100 expansion packs for The Sims 4. Granted, we have over 100 DLC for this game now. We can't have over 100 expansion packs. That's not going to work. It's just not feasible. From a practical perspective, nobody's hardware is going to be able to run that many packs forever. It's going gonna get to a point where they're gonna have to move on to The Sims 5. It will get to a point, but right now they're ignoring it. I think I'm just very worried about the future of The Sims, and I just feel like none of us even know what to say or do, because it's like, what's gonna happen? Nobody knows. The Sims 4 is literally so alive, the most alive Sims game ever, yet it's the most dead Sims game ever at the same time. And I think it's just this really weird conflict. I also think it's why there's so much hate in the Sims community, because it's the most divisive Sims game for sure, but it's the only Sims game out right now that's being updated, so it's the only one that we can really play. From a personal perspective, my dream is that they just remake The Sims 2 and The Sims 3. You know, in The Sims 3, I owned literally, I think I owned 3 expansion packs, but I only played with like 1. Back in those days, you didn't actually need any packs to enjoy the game, really. But if you just had 1 pack, that would be enough to keep you going. Whereas in The Sims 4, there seems to be this trend of a pack comes out, everybody gets bored of the pack within a week. Now everybody's craving a brand new pack, and the cycle goes on and on and on. And that's just because the base experience, let's be brutally honest, isn't that good. So we're constantly craving a new pack experience in order to keep our dopamine up. But really, none of these packs are changing the core base game. I think Life and Death, the latest release pack for The Sims 4, is an excellent metaphor, seeming that The Sims 4 is very much alive, very much dead. Not a great metaphor for The Sims 5, because there's no life left in that at all. It's very much dead. But I'm curious to know, what do you think about the way The Sims is going? Are you personally happy to just continue purchasing packs for The Sims 4 over and over and over again until the day you die? Or would you like to see The Sims 5 or something else? I personally would just like to see The Sims 5. I think moving on and maybe having a little drop in sales for them temporarily it's just a natural consequence of moving forward with a video game series. It's just normal, but they obviously don't want to do it. So we're just gonna have to keep riding on The Sims 4 train until it derails. I mean, it kind of already has derailed. It's just it's going, you know, all over the place. We don't know where this train's going. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. I will see you in the next one.